The cafe in Montmartre was exactly the kind of place Rebecca would choose. Elegant, overpriced, and perfect for people who wanted to be seen. I watched her through the window, sipping her 15 euros latte while scrolling through her phone, not a care in the world. She hadn't changed much in 5 years. Same perfectly styled blonde hair, same designer clothes, same air of casual superiority. The only difference was that now she was living off our parents' retirement savings, all $4.2 million of them. My name is Sarah Matthews, and I spent the last 5 years hunting down my sister. Not for revenge, though God knows I wanted it. No, this was about justice, about making things right for our parents who now worked retail jobs in their 70s because their brilliant investment advisor daughter had cleaned up their accounts and disappeared. I checked my watch, 2:45 p.m. Right on schedule. Taking a deep breath, I adjusted my dark wig and sunglasses, picked up my designer handbag, a clever fake, and walked into the cafe. Bonjour, I said to the hostess in carefully practiced French. I'm meeting someone. Ah, there she is. I pointed to Rebecca's table by the window. Before the hostess could stop me, I walked over and sat down across from my sister. Rebecca looked up, annoyed at the intrusion, then froze as I removed my sunglasses. Hi, Bex, I said quietly, using her childhood nickname. Long time no see. The color drained from her face. Sarah? What? How did you find you? I smiled, though there was no warmth in it. That's an interesting story. Almost as interesting as how you managed to forge Mom and Dad's signatures on those transfer documents. She glanced toward the door, calculating. I could practically see the wheels turning in her head. Could she make a run for it? Create a scene? Call security? Don't bother, I said, opening my handbag and pulling out a manila envelope. Running won't help. Not this time. What do you want? She hissed, her perfectly manicured hands clenching around her coffee cup. Money? Is that it? Come to guilt-trip me into sharing. I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make heads turn at nearby tables. Money? You think that's why I spent 5 years tracking you down? No, Bex. I'm here because you destroyed our family, and now you're going to help me fix it. She leaned back, some of her old confidence returning. Or what? You'll tell the police? Go ahead. There's no proof I did anything wrong. The transfers were all legal, signed and notarized. I opened the envelope and slid out a stack of papers. Actually, that's where you're wrong. See, while you were living it up in Paris, I've been very, very busy. Her eyes flickered to the documents, then back to my face. What is this? This, I said, tapping the papers, is everything. Every forged document, every fake signature, every illegal transfer, and most importantly, proof of where the money went. Would you like to know how I found it all? She didn't answer, but I could see fear creeping into her eyes. It started with Dad's signature on the final transfer form. I continued. You were always good at forgery. Remember all those report cards you used to fake in high school? But you made one mistake. Dad's arthritis was acting up that week, and his signature would have been shakier than usual. Yours was perfect, too perfect. Rebecca's hand trembled as she reached for the papers, but I pulled them back. That got me thinking, what else had you faked? So I did some digging. A lot of digging. Did you know Mom kept all their old bank statements? Every single one, going back 20 years. It took months, but I compared every signature, every document, every transaction. You're bluffing, she whispered, but we both knew she didn't believe that. I pulled out my phone and opened a series of photos. This is you at HSBC Paris, opening an account under the name Rebecca Laurent. This is you transferring funds through 3 different shell companies, and this, I swiped to the last image, is you meeting with Jean-Paul Dupont last week. She flinched at the name. How do you know about Jean-Paul? Your business partner? The one helping you launder money through his art gallery? Oh, I know all about him, including the fact that he's already under investigation by the French Financial Crimes Unit. For the first time, real fear showed on my sister's face. Sarah, listen. No, I cut her off. You listen. In about 30 seconds, a man is going to walk through that door. He's from Interpol's Financial Crimes Division. The only reason he's not already here is because I convinced him to give me a chance to talk to you first. She glanced at the door, panic rising in her eyes. But, I continued, there might be another option. If you're interested. Rebecca's eyes snapped back to me. What kind of option? I pulled out another envelope. The kind that keeps you out of prison. But trust me. Sister dear, you're not going to like it. The cafe door chimed as it opened. Rebecca's face went white as she saw the tall man in a dark suit walk in. Time's up, I said softly. What's it going to be? Rebecca's hand shot across the table, grabbing the second envelope. What do you want? She whispered urgently, eyes darting between me and the Interpol agent who was now speaking quietly with the hostess. I smiled, feeling a grim satisfaction at seeing my usually composed sister so rattled. It's quite simple, really. You're going to give the money back. All of it. She let out a strangled laugh. Simple? Sarah, I can't just. It's not that easy. The money's tied up in investments, properties. You mean the art gallery? The townhouse in the 16th arrondissement? The Swiss bank accounts? I leaned forward. I told you, Bex. I know everything. The Interpol agent was slowly making his way through the cafe, apparently checking each table. We had maybe 2 minutes left. Even if I wanted to, Rebecca hissed, I can't liquidate everything immediately. It would take time. 3 days, I said firmly. You have 3 days to transfer everything back to our parents' accounts. The routing numbers are in that envelope, along with instructions for how to make it look legitimate. Her eyes narrowed. And if I don't? I nodded toward the approaching agent. Then I stopped stalling him. Everything I've discovered goes to Interpol, the FBI, and the French authorities. You'll spend the next decade in prison, and Jean-Paul right along with you. You do that? To your own sister? My sister? I felt a surge of anger. My sister died the day she stole our parents' future and ran away to Paris. You're just the criminal wearing her face. The agent was just 2 tables away now. Rebecca's hands shook as she opened the envelope, scanning the contents quickly. 3 days, she asked, her voice barely audible. I nodded. And Rebecca, if you try to run, if you try to hide the money, if you do anything except exactly what those instructions say. I gestured to the approaching agent. Well, let's just say this is only a small taste of what I can do. She swallowed hard, then forced a smile as the agent reached our table. Mademoiselles, he said politely, I apologize for the interruption. We are conducting a routine check. I held up my hand, speaking in French. No need, Inspector Rousseau. My sister and I were just finishing our conversation. Weren't we, Bex? Rebecca clutched the envelope to her chest and nodded. Yes, we were. I stood up, gathering my things. Remember, 3 days. Don't disappoint me again. As I walked out of the cafe, I heard Rebecca engaging the inspector in rapid French, probably trying to appear normal, unworthy of suspicion. But I knew her too well. She was already planning, calculating, trying to figure out a way around this. What she didn't know was that I had planned for that too. Back in my hotel room, I called the one person who had helped make this all possible. It's done, I told Marcus, my voice finally betraying my exhaustion. She took the bait. Marcus, my best friend since college and now one of the top forensic accountants in New York, chuckled. Of course she did. You didn't give her a choice. But do you really think she'll do it? Return the money? I sat down heavily on the bed, kicking off my heels. She'll try to find a way out first. Probably contact some of her shadier friends, look for escape routes. But when they fall through because we've already blocked them all. Marcus interjected. Right. When she realizes she's truly trapped, she'll follow the instructions. Rebecca's a survivor. She'll choose losing the money over losing her freedom. And the inspector? He played his part well. I smiled, remembering the look on Rebecca's face. Perfectly. She never suspected he was just an actor I hired. Having him there made everything else I said more credible. Speaking of credible, Marcus said, his tone turning serious. What about the real authorities? You know she's actually guilty of everything you accused her of. I know, I sighed. But prosecuting her wouldn't get our parents' money back. This way, if she cooperates, everyone wins. She stays out of jail, our parents get their retirement back, and I paused. And you what? And I can finally stop hunting her, stop letting her take up space in my head. After hanging up, I walked to the window. Paris sparkled in the evening light, the Eiffel Tower beginning to glow against the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, my sister was probably frantically trying to find a way to outsmart me. Let her try. I'd spent 5 years becoming an expert in financial crimes just to understand how she'd done it. I learned French, studied international banking laws, built a network of contacts in the financial world. I'd sacrificed my own career, used up my savings, dedicated every waking moment to this pursuit. Rebecca had always underestimated me. To her, I was just the quiet younger sister who played by the rules. She never understood that playing by the rules had taught me exactly how to break them when necessary. My phone buzzed. A text from one of my contacts at the airport. Rebecca had just tried to book a flight to Singapore, only to find her passports, all three of them, mysteriously blacklisted. Another buzz, her attempt to wire money to a Cayman Islands account had been blocked. A third message, her call to Jean-Paul had gone straight to voicemail because he was currently in police custody on unrelated charges. Charges that would disappear once Rebecca returned our parents' money, though she didn't know that part yet. I smiled as the messages kept coming in. Every escape route closing, every backup plan failing. I'd spent 5 years building this cage around her, making it look like coincidence and bad luck rather than careful planning. By tomorrow, she'd realize she was trapped. By the day after, she'd understand that her only way out was through me. And on the third day, our parents would wake up to find their accounts restored, their futures secured. As for Rebecca, well, that would depend entirely on her next move. On the third morning, I sat in my hotel room watching the numbers on my laptop screen. 3 separate banking apps were open, each showing our parents' accounts. At exactly 9 a.m. Paris time, the first transfer came through, 1.2 million euros. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. It's starting. She's actually doing it. I didn't reply, my eyes fixed on the screen as more transfers appeared. By 9:15, the total had reached 2.8 million euros. Rebecca was cutting it close. She had until noon to complete the transfers according to my instructions. At 11:30, my phone rang. Rebecca. I've done it, she said without preamble, her voice tight. Every cent. Are you happy now? I checked the final totals. $4.2 million, exactly what she'd stolen. You did what you had to do, nothing more. So that's it, she laughed bitterly. You've ruined everything I built here, and now you just walk away. Everything you built? I felt my careful control slipping. You built nothing, Rebecca. You stole from our parents, from the people who gave you everything. They're working at Walmart at 70 years old because of you. There was a long pause. I never meant for that to happen, she said quietly. I had debts, and then an opportunity came up, and I thought I could double their money, make everything right. Save it? I cut her off. I don't care about your excuses. The money's back where it belongs. That's all that matters. What am I supposed to do now? For the first time, she sounded scared. I have nothing left. You have exactly what you deserve, I replied. But since you complied with my demands, I'll keep my end of the bargain. The authorities won't hear about this from me. Sarah, wait. I hung up, cutting off whatever plea or manipulation she was about to attempt. 5 years of pursuit, of sacrifice and determination, and it ended with a simple phone call. My hands were shaking as I dialed another number, home. Hello, my mother's voice, tired from another early morning shift. Mom, you should check your bank account. What? Sarah, what are you talking about? Just look, Mom. Please. I heard shuffling, the clicking of a keyboard, then silence. Mom? A sob broke through the phone. Sarah, is this real? It's real, Mom, all of it. You and Dad can retire now. For real this time. But how did you? She stopped. Rebecca, you found her? Yes, I said simply. I found her. Where is she? Is she okay? Classic mom, still worried about her eldest daughter even after everything. She's fine. Better than she deserves to be, but she won't bother us again. After promising to explain everything when I got home, I hung up and walked to the window. Paris was bright and clear, the morning sun glinting off the buildings. Somewhere out there, my sister was probably already planning her next move, figuring out how to rebuild. That was who she was, always moving forward, never looking back at the damage she left behind. But this time, she'd be doing it without our parents' money, without the safety net she'd stolen. My phone buzzed again. Marcus, you did it. It's really over. I typed back, Not quite. One more thing to do. Opening my laptop, I sent a single email to Jean-Paul Dupont's lawyer. As promised, the evidence that would clear him of his current legal troubles was attached. Honor among thieves, even if they didn't know they were working for me. Then I began booking my flight home. But not before sending one final message, but one that would ensure she could never pull this kind of scam again. Ask Rebecca Matthews about the $4.2 million she stole from her elderly parents. Ask her what happened when her sister caught up with her. Petty, maybe, but sometimes justice needs a little help spreading the word. As I packed my bags, I thought about the past 5 years. I put my life on hold, spent every resource I had, learned things I never wanted to know about the dark side of international finance. Was it worth it? My phone buzzed one last time, a photo from Dad. He was holding his retirement notice, grinning like I hadn't seen him grin in years. Mom was beside him, crying happy tears. Yeah, it was worth it. That evening, as my plane took off from Charles de Gaulle Airport, I looked down at the city where my sister had hidden for so long. Paris would recover from Rebecca Matthews. Cities always do. Just like our family would recover, stronger now that the wound had been cleaned and bandaged. I thought about Rebecca, probably already working on her next reinvention. Part of me wondered if I should feel guilty about taking everything from her. But then I remembered our parents working doubles at minimum wage jobs because their daughter had stolen their dreams. No, I decided. Rebecca had made her choices. Now she had to live with the consequences. As for me, I had a family to go home to and a life to restart. 5 years of obsession and pursuit had changed me, taught me things about myself I never knew. I was stronger than I'd thought, more capable than anyone, including Rebecca, had ever given me credit for. My phone buzzed one last time as we reached cruising altitude, a text from an unknown number. "This isn't over, little sister." I smiled, typing back, "Yes, Rebecca, it is. And if you ever try anything like this again, remember, I'll find you. I'll always find you." Then I turned off my phone, ordered a glass of champagne, and watched the sun set over the clouds. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about protecting the people they tried to hurt. Our parents had their future back. Rebecca had her consequence. And me? I had my peace. The doorbell rang at exactly 2:14 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. I'd been expecting it, though Ashley Carter, the woman who stood on my doorstep clutching a manila envelope, had no idea that her dramatic revelation was about to backfire spectacularly. "Are you Victoria Mitchell?" she demanded, her voice shaking with barely controlled rage. I smiled warmly, stepping aside. "I am. Would you like to come in? I just made coffee." She hesitated, clearly thrown off by my calm demeanor. This wasn't the reaction she'd expected when coming to confront her husband's other wife. "My name is Victoria Mitchell, or at least, that's what James Mitchell had called me for the past 8 years. I'm 34, run a successful consulting firm, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had a perfect marriage to a wealthy investment banker." Then I found the receipt. "Please sit." I gestured to our immaculate living room, a showcase of James's success with its designer furniture and original artwork. Ashley perched awkwardly on the edge of the white leather sofa, still clutching her envelope. "I don't understand," she said, watching me pour coffee into delicate china cups. "You're not surprised? About you being James's wife? The one he married in 2008 in Cape Cod." I handed her a cup. "No, I'm not surprised at all." The color drained from her face. "How did you know about Cape Cod?" I sat down across from her, smoothing my skirt. "The same way I know about your daughter Emma's private school tuition, the house in Connecticut, and the fact that James has been lying to both of us for nearly a decade." She set down her untouched coffee with trembling hands. "I don't understand. If you knew, why didn't I confront him? Leave him? Report him?" I smiled. "Because that would have been too easy, and James Mitchell deserves anything but easy." I walked to my home office, returning with my own manila envelope. 6 months ago, I found a receipt in James's jacket. Nothing suspicious, just a dinner at Le Bernardin. But the date caught my eye. It was our anniversary, and James had told me he was in London on business. Ashley's eyes widened as I continued, so I did some digging. Hired a private investigator. And what I found, I laughed softly. Well, let's just say James isn't as clever as he thinks he is. "Why are you telling me this?" Ashley asked, her initial anger giving way to confusion. Because, I said, opening my envelope, you're not here by accident, Ashley. That anonymous tip you received about James' other wife? The documents that led you to my address? That was me. She gasped. You. I needed you to find out the truth, but more importantly, I needed you to find out today. Right now. Because in about 30 minutes, James is going to walk through that door, fresh from his business trip to Chicago. I made air quotes with my fingers, though we both know he was actually at Emma's soccer tournament in Connecticut. Ashley's hands flew to her mouth. He said he had meetings in Boston. He always was good at keeping his stories straight, I said. Well, mostly straight. That's how I caught him, you know. One tiny slip-up with a dinner receipt, and his whole carefully constructed house of cards started to fall. I pulled out my phone, showing her a banking app. Do you know what else I found while investigating our husband? Offshore accounts, shell companies, a whole network of hidden assets that I'm betting even you didn't know about. She shook her head slowly. James Mitchell, the brilliant investment banker, has been doing more than just managing other people's money. He's been stealing it. Small amounts, cleverly hidden, spread across hundreds of accounts. The kind of theft that's hard to trace unless you know exactly where to look. How do you know all this? Ashley whispered. I smiled. Because before I married James, I worked in forensic accounting, a detail he apparently never bothered to learn about his second wife. Just like he probably doesn't know what you did before becoming a full-time mother. I was a compliance officer at Morgan Stanley, she said quietly. Exactly. He married smart women, Ashley. That was his first mistake. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway made us both turn toward the window. Right on schedule, I said, standing up. Are you ready to help me take down our husband? Ashley stood too, her face hardening with resolve. What do you need me to do? I handed her a document from my envelope. First, we're going to let him walk in and try to explain why there are two Mrs. Mitchells in his living room. Then, while he's desperately trying to talk his way out of that situation, you're going to show him this. She looked at the paper, her eyes widening. Is this proof of his financial crimes? Yes, but it's only the beginning. I checked my watch. He'll be coming through that door in about 30 seconds. Remember, let him talk. The more he lies, the deeper he'll dig himself. We heard keys in the lock, and I felt a surge of anticipation. 6 months of planning, of careful documentation and strategic moves had led to this moment. Victoria? James's voice called out. I'm home early. I managed to wrap up those meetings in Chicago. He walked into the living room, his designer briefcase in one hand, a bouquet of apology flowers in the other, his standard gift when he'd been away too long. He froze mid-step when he saw us both standing there. The flowers hit the floor with a soft thud. Hello, darling, I said sweetly. Look who stopped by for coffee. Your wife. James Mitchell had always been good at talking his way out of tight spots. It was what made him such a successful investment banker, that and his complete lack of moral compass, as we discovered. But standing in his perfectly decorated living room, faced with both his wives, even his silver tongue seemed to fail him. I can explain, he stammered, his usual confidence cracking. Can you? Ashley and I spoke in perfect unison, causing him to flinch. It's not what you think, he tried again, his eyes darting between us, probably trying to calculate which one of us was the bigger threat. I smiled, enjoying his discomfort. Really? Because I think this is exactly what it looks like. You married Ashley in 2008 in Cape Cod. Beautiful ceremony, by the way, I saw the photos. Then you married me in 2015 in Aspen, telling each of us that your frequent business trips were just part of being a successful banker. The color drained from his face. How long have you? No. I finished for him. Long enough to find everything, James. Every account, every transfer, every lie. He straightened his tie, a nervous habit I'd noticed over the years. Whatever you think you found, you don't understand the complexities of international finance. Oh, but we do, Ashley cut in, her voice steady. Victoria was kind enough to share all the documentation with me. The shell companies in the Caymans, the missing client funds, the fake investment accounts. You've been stealing for years, I added, pulling out my phone. Small amounts cleverly hidden. But you got sloppy, James, just like you got sloppy with that dinner receipt. His face hardened. You can't prove anything. I pressed play on my phone. His voice filled the room. Just move the Johnson Fund through the usual channels. By the time anyone notices, it'll be spread across so many accounts they'll never trace it. That's from 3 weeks ago, I said calmly. Your call with Marcus about the pension fund theft. I have hundreds more recordings, James. Every meeting, every call, every confession. He lunged for my phone, but I was ready for that. Ashley stepped between us, her own phone raised. I wouldn't, she said coldly. Everything's already been backed up and sent to secure servers. If anything happens to either of us, it all goes straight to the FBI. James collapsed onto the sofa, his perfectly tailored suit suddenly looking rumpled and wrong. What do you want? Want? I laughed. We want everything, James. Every penny you've stolen, every asset you've hidden. You're going to sign everything over to a victim restitution fund. You can't be serious, he scoffed. You'll get nothing. You'll both be disgraced when this comes out. Will we? Ashley pulled out another document. Because according to these records, we're both innocent victims of your fraud. In fact, we're the ones who uncovered it and reported it. You already reported. His voice trailed off as realization hit him. Not yet, I said softly. You have 1 hour to sign these papers, transferring everything to the restitution fund. If you do, you might only serve 5 years. If you don't, I shrugged. Well, the FBI is very interested in investment fraud these days. His face contorted with rage. You manipulative buy. Careful, Ashley cut him off. Remember those recordings. Everything you say or do right now is being documented. As if to prove her point, a small red light blinked from the bookshelf. One of many cameras I'd installed months ago. James's shoulders slumped. You planned this. All of it. From the moment I found that receipt, I confirmed. The anonymous tip to Ashley, the evidence gathering, the recordings, all of it leading to this moment. You should have done your homework, James, before marrying a forensic accountant and a compliance officer. He looked up, desperation replacing anger. We can work something out. I have more money hidden away. We could split it, the three of us. Still trying to negotiate? I shook my head. It's over, James. The only choice you have left is whether you want to do this the easy way or the hard way. James chose the hard way. I watched from my office window 3 days later as FBI agents let him out in handcuffs. He'd spent those 3 days trying to move money, delete records, and call in favors, all of which failed because Ashley and I had already frozen every account, backed up every record, and warned every contact. Mrs. Mitchell. An FBI agent appeared at my door. We've finished collecting evidence from a home office. We'll need you to come down to give a formal statement tomorrow. I nodded, suppressing a smile at the Mrs. Mitchell, soon to be former, along with Ashley. We'd both filed for annulment, citing fraud and bigamy. Our lawyers assured us it would be straightforward, especially given James' other crimes. My phone buzzed. Ashley. It's done, her text read. Just watch them raid the Connecticut house. Emma's okay, confused, but okay. I'd grown to respect Ashley over the past few days. She handled the destruction of her 15-year marriage with remarkable strength, focusing on protecting her daughter and helping bring James to justice. The final tally of James's theft was staggering. $67 million, stolen from various clients over a decade. The victims' restitution fund we'd set up would restore most of their losses, thanks to our careful tracking of his hidden assets. As for his legitimate assets, the houses, cars, art collections, they'd be sold to compensate his victims too. Ashley and I had made sure our names were clear legally, but we wanted no part of wealth built on stolen money. Victoria? Ashley stood in my doorway, Emma beside her. Can we come in? I gestured them inside. Emma, at 13, looked so much like her mother, the same determined set to her jaw, the same sharp intelligence in her eyes. I want to thank you, Ashley said, sitting down. Not just for uncovering everything, but for how you handled it, for thinking of Emma in all this. I smiled at the girl. Your mom's the real hero here. She could have just taken the evidence and turned James in, but she worked with me to make sure we could recover the money for his victims. Emma spoke up, her voice quiet but firm. Did you ever love him? Either of you? Ashley and I exchanged glances. It was a question we'd both been avoiding. I loved who I thought he was, I said finally. the successful, charming man who seemed to care about doing good in the world. But that man never existed. I loved him for 15 years, Ashley added. But looking back, there were always signs. The inconsistencies, the long absences, the way he compartmentalized his life. I just didn't want to see them. Emma nodded, processing this. What happens now? Now, I said, pulling out a folder, we move forward. Your mom mentioned you're interested in finance. The girl's eyes lit up. Yeah, I want to help people protect their money, make sure nobody else can do what Dad did. Well, I handed her some brochures. I've started a foundation with part of my consulting firm's profits. We're going to fund scholarships for students interested in financial crimes prevention and victim advocacy. You'd be a perfect candidate in a few years. Ashley squeezed her daughter's shoulder. See, something good can come from this. As they left, I turned back to my window. The FBI vehicles were gone, along with James. The life I thought I had, perfect marriage, wealthy husband, glamorous lifestyle, had vanished too. But in its place was something real, integrity, justice, and an unexpected friendship with a woman who should have been my rival. My phone buzzed one last time, a news alert. James' arrest was already making headlines. Prominent banker charged in massive fraud scheme. Below was a quote from his lawyer. Mr. Mitchell maintains his innocence and claims he was set up by his wives. I laughed out loud. Even now, he couldn't take responsibility. But it didn't matter anymore. The evidence spoke for itself, and James Mitchell would spend the next 20 years in federal prison learning a hard lesson about underestimating women. That evening, Ashley, Emma, and I had dinner together. Not at some expensive restaurant, but at my small apartment downtown. My real home, not the showcase house James had bought with stolen money. To new beginnings, Ashley raised her glass of wine. To justice, I added. To family, Emma said quietly, even if it's not the kind we expected. We clinked glasses, three women brought together by one man's betrayal, now united in something stronger than marriage certificates or legal documents. Truth, trust, and the satisfaction of knowing we turned his lies into something good. Later, as I got ready for bed, I found one last reminder of James, a photo from our wedding. We looked so happy, so in love. But now I could see what I'd missed then, the calculation in his eyes, the practiced nature of his smile. I dropped the photo in the shredder, listening to the satisfying whir as it disappeared. Some people might call what we did revenge. I prefer to think of it as justice, not just for us, but for every person James had stolen from, lied to, betrayed. The next morning, I walked into my consulting firm with my head high. On my desk was a stack of letters, thank you notes from James's victims who were already receiving restitution payments. Each one reminded me that sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about rebuilding what they broke stronger than before. And as for James, last I heard, he was adjusting to life in federal prison, probably still trying to charm his way out of consequences. But this time there was no escape, no clever argument, no wife to manipulate. Just 20 years to think about the women he underestimated and the justice they served.